Well, what's going on, everyone? Chris Kennedy here. I am back, and today I'm going to talk the one team from the Big Ten that I think is going to go from having a losing record in 2020 to a winning record in 2021. But before I do that, do me a favor. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button. I love talking college football. It's fun to do. I'm no expert. I'm just an average fan of another team, but I like watching these teams around the country, trying to get a feel for things on how they might perform come next season. So, a couple of prerequisites you needed to make this list, and I'm doing every team from the Power 5 conference. Every team that I think is going to go from having a losing record to a winning record. I did the ACC the other day. Check it out if you haven't already. And I'm doing the Big Ten now. It really came down to two things. Now, you had to have a record of 500 or under to qualify and not play in a bowl game last year. So looking at the Big Ten, it came down to two teams, Michigan and Penn State. They normally field pretty good programs. Last year was a strange year. COVID had a lot to do with it, I believe. And I think they're going to be, both these teams, improved in 2021. But looking at the rosters, looking at the talent, looking at the future potential, I ended up going with Michigan. Now, I made a video about Michigan football a few weeks back. I won't get too much into all the things that have changed. I mean, Jim Harbaugh was fortunate to keep his job. They made a lot of coaching changes. Brings in Sharon Moore, from tight ends coach to offensive line coach and co-offensive coordinator with Josh Gaddis. Brings in Mike McDonald, the defensive coordinator, replaced Don Brown. Mike Hart comes in as your new running backs coach. Ron Bellamy coaching your wide receivers. So there are a lot of uncertainties, and it's a young staff. Jim Harbaugh's the oldest person on the staff, and your quarterback situation is kind of up in the air right now. So there are a lot of uncertainties, but when I get a feel for what the Michigan fan base thinks, I kind of feel like they think it's going to be the same old thing because Jim Harbaugh is still there. I mean, it's funny how much things have changed in 5 years. I mean, he was the hottest coach coming into college football. People thought, no doubt, Michigan will be back. Well, here we are 5 years later, and now people just want him out of there. It's almost like they're disappointed they couldn't get somebody else in. But here's what I would say about that. He swung for the fences with his coaching staff. He completely revamped everything. And Jim is not a player's coach. He's got an awkward personality. He's just kind of a strange guy, but he knows football. And as a head coach, sometimes it's just getting the right pieces in place. So he brought in all these new coaches, younger guys that can connect with players, and maybe that's what it's going to take to get the most out of this talent, because you are the second best recruiting team in the Big Ten. Now, when you look at the team, the quarterback situation, is it going to be Alan Bowman? Is it going to be Cade McNamara? I mean, he didn't turn the ball over last year when he played. J.J. McCarthy's got the raw skill, just hasn't learned the playbook yet. It's kind of up in the air. And nobody really knows because Michigan has closed off the media to a lot of what they're doing right now. We know that the running back situation should be good with Hassan Haskins and Blake Corum coming back. They're good running backs. And you bring in Donovan Edwards. Donovan Edwards, watch his high school tape. It's unbelievable. He really made it look easy. So I feel good about what they've got at running backs. Ronnie Bell and Cornelius Johnson are returning as your receivers. You bring in Xavier Worthy and Christian Dixon in that recruiting class. The offensive line last year played well despite having to replace 4 or 5 guys, and Jalen Mayfield was hurt for the most part. Andrew Vistardes was hurt. He played good at times, played bad at times. It was a struggle just fielding a healthy unit, but they played pretty good overall. Now, you lose some of those guys going into next season. I just think that the offensive line is probably going to be decent at least, and I like what Sharon Moore is doing so far. I read an article the other day where the offensive line was struggling, and instead of Sharon Moore sitting them down like the coaches did in the past and kind of getting on him, he sat him down and said, look, I'm here for you guys. I'm going to coach you hard. I'm not going to give up on you. We're going to get this thing right. And the response to that was definitely good. Players took that a different way. It's something that they're not used to hearing. And sometimes that's what you need in college football, because college football is an emotional game. These are young kids, so connecting with these players, letting them know that you're there for them and you're going to work with them, that goes a long, long way. Now, defensive side of things, Aiden Hutchinson is back, Mozzie Smith, David Ajabu. You bring in a guy like Rashawn Benny to come in to help out. Your linebackers, Josh Rosh, Michael Barrett, they're going to be there. Junior Colson is a new guy that you've brought in. People are high on what he can do. And then defensive backs, I think Green and Gray improved a lot from the start of last season. I think they'll be better. I think, I don't know if it's going to be Green or Gray. I assume one of those guys will be starting. I know Andre Selden is out there, so he's in the mix. And then your defensive backs with Brad Hawkins and Daxton Hill, you are good. You're solid there. So the talent is already there. It's just, will the coaches be able to get more out of the talent compared to what the old regime did? I'm feeling it personally. And I know a lot of Michigan fans are not, because, like I said, Jim Harbaugh is still there. But there's CEO coaches, and then there's coaches that are involved a lot with what the team is doing. Jim Harbaugh works with the quarterback, but he brought in Mike Weiss to help with that. And he even said in an interview, I wasn't doing some things right, so I want some help with it. Well, that's a start. And I think he's doing the right thing by changing everything up, because you weren't going to catch Ohio State doing it the old way. So why not do something different? Why not go a completely different route? Why not close off the media and maybe unveil something at the start of the season that nobody saw coming? Don't give anybody an opportunity to learn anything about this team. And, we can all sit here and speculate, but I like it. I think it's kind of interesting. I think, obviously the media not being there, COVID has a piece to do with it, but I kind of like what Jim Harbaugh is doing. I think this team is going to hit that 9-10 win mark. I really do. I look at this schedule, and it's a tough schedule, but I just really am buying into what these coaches can do. I like younger guys, and I think a lot of these old coaches, have they've kind of burned out, and they're just not getting what they used to be able to get out of the players because the game's changed. Nick Saban has a different philosophy when it comes to coaching now. He had to adapt, and a lot of the coaches on that Michigan staff, they were doing things the old way, and that wasn't going to get you where you wanted to go. Now, looking at the schedule, you start out with Western Michigan. That should be a win. Washington at home in Ann Arbor, that is an opportunity to win back a lot of the fan base. If you can score that win, it's a nice win. Washington, not an elite team, but still a solid program. That would be a good victory. Then you get Northern Illinois and Rutgers. You should win those games. And then you go on the road to Madison, Wisconsin. This is the game that I think is going to make or break your season. I've already talked about this in the past, but if you can pull this one out, that would be huge. And they've dominated you the last 3 years. They've been better than you up front. They've just outworked you. I don't know what it is. You can see that as far as physicality goes, Wisconsin has been ahead of Michigan the past few years. Then you get Nebraska on the road versus Northwestern at home. Then you're at Michigan State. That Michigan State game is always good. Then you play Indiana. Then you're at Penn State. I think Penn State is going to be a tough game for you guys in Happy Valley. Then you're at Maryland, who I think will be improved. And then you get Ohio State in Ann Arbor. Now, Ohio State, I believe in what Ryan Day does with the quarterbacks, and they are the most talented team in the Big Ten, so I believe he'll get the right guy in there. But this could be a big opportunity for Michigan to do something. It really all depends on the momentum they have going into the Ohio State game. Now, I know some people would argue that, well, we've seen them, be 10-1 and lose 62-39 to Ohio State, or be 10-1 and lose, badly like they did in 2019. So, I understand that, but the fact is just look at what you got. You got the players. You have not been striking out on talent every single time. So I would tell the Michigan fan base, hey, have faith, be optimistic, look at the bright side of things. Don't just go in with this negative outlook, because sometimes like this is what it takes. It just takes revamping the whole thing. And you weren't going to catch Ohio State the way you were doing things in the past. So my turnaround team in the Big Ten is the Michigan Wolverines. I think they can win 10 games. That would be a huge turnaround, and I think people would feel good about that. Jim Harbaugh, I think, will coach with a lot less stress on his plate. I mean, granted, if it goes bad, he's probably out of there, but I think just having all of that behind him now might free some things up. He's got a lot of help, a lot of youth in there, and we will see how it plays out. But you guys let me know. Do you think there's another team? Do you think it's Penn State that's going to be the turnaround team? Is there somebody else I'm not talking about? Let me know in the comments below. I really like engaging with you guys. Like I said, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the thumbs up. I'll be back with another video. I'm going to talk the Big 12, my turnaround team in the Big 12, so look out for that one, and we'll talk to you guys later.